Buckle up, because Tiffany Henyard's saga is taking an unexpected turn. Those who followed her chaotic political journey might have seen this coming, but it still shocked many. From whispers of corruption to full-blown scandals, the so-called super mayor of Dothan, Illinois, has made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The latest twist? The FBI stormed a city council meeting to arrest her on charges of embezzling a jaw-dropping $2 million in taxpayer funds. Yes, you read that right, $2 million. Let's dive into this unfolding chaos.
Has 2 political jobs on 2 public payrolls as mayor of South Suburban Dalton, or as she calls herself, Super.
Scott, the meeting wrapped up early because 2 trustees, as you mentioned, did not show up. Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. Without them, not enough board members were present to make a
Tiffany Henyard, a political figure more controversial than a reality TV star, has become the face of scandal in her village. Constantly wrapped in controversy, Henyard, the embattled mayor of a financially struggling village, has long been synonymous with the phrase, asterisk. What did she do this time, however? Her latest actions have taken a darker turn. The FBI has now stepped in, and the accusations are far more serious than anything the public has seen before. The small town of Dothan, already grappling with its own economic hardships, now finds itself at the center of a major investigation. Henyard, once dubbed the super mayor, has been implicated in what appears to be a meticulously orchestrated scheme to funnel taxpayer money into her own personal account, alongside unauthorized spending, and the sum? An eye-watering $2 million. This amount was siphoned off from a community that desperately needed those funds to address crumbling infrastructure and basic public services. The revelation of this theft has left residents in utter disbelief. The impact of Henyard's alleged actions has hit the community like a gut punch. Many residents, who had entrusted their mayor to improve the village's finances, feel deeply betrayed. One local official did not hold back, calling Henyard's behavior a massive breach of public trust. Echoing the sentiments of many, the question on everyone's lips is, asterisk, how could this happen? This isn't a case of simple mismanagement or budgetary mistakes. It's outright theft. The $2 million allegedly diverted for personal gain could have been used to address the village's immediate needs, such as fixing streets and improving infrastructure. Yet, the mayor appears to have used it for her own benefit. Residents are now demanding answers, with many expressing their anger openly. At a recent town meeting, one local resident summed up the collective outrage when they shouted, asterisk, she's supposed to be fixing the streets, not lining her pockets. The image of Henyard allegedly living it up at the expense of community is especially hard to swallow when you consider the state of the village. Potholes are everywhere, infrastructure is crumbling, and basic needs like public services are going unmet. Meanwhile, the mayor appears to have been enjoying the fruits of her corruption, further enraging the community. The sheer audacity of her actions has left the town reeling. How could someone who was entrusted with improving the community turn around and exploit it for personal gain? But the financial loss isn't the only thing residents are grappling with. Yes, $2 million is an astronomical sum for a small village, but it's the deep betrayal of public trust that cuts even deeper. Henyard's actions have shattered the faith people had in their local government. Many now feel deeply wronged by a leader who should have been working in their best interest. Not her own, the FBI's involvement signals just how serious the situation has become. It's clear that Henyard's days in office are numbered. As the scandal continues to unfold, what once seemed like whispers of corruption has now exploded into a full-blown scandal that has captured national attention. As the investigation progresses, more details are expected to emerge, and the full scope of Henyard's alleged scheme may be even more extensive than anyone imagined for now. Dothan's residents are left to pick up the pieces of their broken community. Many are left wondering, asterisk, how could they have been taken for such a ride?
She did to receive the information today. We have the best mayor ever. I've been here since 1993, and she's the best we ever had.
You know, you're doing a lot of programs, good programs for the, the senior citizens, and you're doing a lot of programs for, people who are on a fixed budget. But what about the people, the blue collar people who are still carrying this?
Brace yourselves, because the latest chapter in Tiffany Henyard's scandalous saga will leave you shaking your head in disbelief. Despite being mired in controversy and scandal, Henyard has had the audacity to announce she's running for re-election. Yes, you read that right. She's not stepping down in shame. Instead, she's asking for more votes from the very residents she allegedly betrayed. One furious local didn't hold back, saying, asterisk, she has a nerve to ask for our votes while stealing from us. Tone deaf, much this latest move has only fueled the criticism surrounding her, and it's clear that her attempt to seek re-election isn't garnering any support. If anything, It's just driving her critics into overdrive. But if you thought her political troubles couldn't get worse, think again. Henyard's personal life is just as messy as her political career. She is now facing an eviction lawsuit. Yes, despite allegedly pocketing taxpayer money, she has been accused of skipping out on rent payments since August. And this is after raking in a six-figure salary. It looks like another case of mismanagement, but this time it's her own finances under scrutiny. Henyard's landlord, Janetta Ho, reluctantly spoke out, revealing that she had initially trusted Henyard, believing her high-profile position would make her a reliable tenant. But that trust has quickly evaporated. Ho claims that Henyard hasn't paid rent in months. And to make matters worse, the mayor allegedly changed the locks on the property to prevent Ho from entering. Ho's frustration is evident, especially considering Henyard's six-figure salary. She said, asterisk, for someone making over $300,000 a year, this is unacceptable. A six-figure salary, and she can't even pay rent? Make it make sense. Asterisk, this personal financial mismanagement mirrors her alleged actions in office, further tarnishing her already shattered reputation. For a public official who should be leading by example, the stark contrast between her role as a mayor and her own actions is impossible to ignore. The community, already reeling from the revelation that Henyard allegedly embezzled $2 million in taxpayer funds, now has to contend with the fact that the person they entrusted with their future is also mishandling her own finances. It's as though she's trying to run away from one mess only to jump headfirst into another, all while asking for the town's votes and support to continue leading them. Henyard's political career is hanging by a thread, and with each new revelation, it becomes harder for anyone to take her seriously. What was once a series of questionable decisions has spiraled into a tangled web of scandals and personal failures. And if Henyard thinks she can overcome this latest debacle, she's seriously out of touch with reality. How can she possibly continue to ask for the town's trust, let alone their votes, when she's facing eviction, allegedly stealing from her community, and showing a complete lack of accountability for her actions? This is the story of a politician whose every move seems to reflect a deeper and more troubling pattern of dishonesty, negligence, and a complete disregard for the people she was supposed to serve. For the residents of this small village, it seems the only thing they can do now is sit back and watch as Henyard's already tarnished political career sinks even further into the depths of scandal and personal chaos.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No.
It seems like Tiffany Henyard's tenure has become more chaotic by the day. Her political career, which once promised big things for Doton, is quickly spiraling into a scandalous disaster. At the center of it all is Henyard's increasingly erratic behavior and disregard for authority, all of which have now caught the attention of federal authorities. The story has become so bizarre it's almost hard to believe. Take, for example, the infamous banners that once declared her as Super Mayor of Doton. They didn't last long. The Board of Trustees ordered the removal of the signs, and Henyard, predictably, lost her temper. In an unbelievable move, she called the police to demand that the workers responsible for taking the banners down be arrested for theft of government property. One worker summed it up perfectly. Asterisk, she's acting like Doton is her personal kingdom. Asterisk, this was only the beginning of what would become a pattern of behavior that showed Henyard's increasing contempt for any form of oversight. Things took a turn for the worse when Township Supervisor Mike A. Thornton scheduled a special meeting to approve events that Henyard wanted the township to fund. But in a sign of just how isolated Henyard had become, not a single trustee showed up, forcing the meeting to be canceled. The public, once again, saw Henyard alone, with no backing or support, turning the moment into yet another spectacle of her desperate need for control. In Henyard's world, public meetings are less about governance and more like a WWE SmackDown, shouting, walkouts, and police interventions. It was becoming increasingly clear that she was more interested in controlling the spotlight than in actually serving her community. One of the most jaw-dropping moments of her tenure came when she attempted to appoint an unqualified candidate to the position of police chief. Critics immediately saw it as a blatant power grab, but Henyard doubled down, dismissing concerns with a response that was frankly out of touch. She even said that her critics were just jealous of her, which begged a question. Jealous of what being in charge of a sinking ship for nearly 2 years as the allegations of corruption mounted, things began to get more serious. There were whispers of federal investigations into Henyard's role in both Doton's mayoral office and her position as township supervisor. Federal agents have reportedly been interviewing witnesses as part of an investigation that could lead to charges, though specifics are still unclear. One thing is undeniable, though. Henyard's reign is under intense scrutiny, and the walls are closing then. In one of the most bizarre displays of her leadership, Henyard took to Facebook Live for a 90-minute rant, spending nearly an hour attacking her critics and even threatening to have them arrested. It was a cringe-worthy performance in which Henyard portrayed herself as the victim, not the person allegedly misappropriating funds. One resident, clearly fed up, asked during a live stream, asterisk, who threatens to arrest people just for disagreeing with you? Asterisk, the sentiment is becoming widespread in Doton. Henyard has lost touch with the community, and her actions are becoming more erratic by the day. Her behavior has sparked a growing perception that Henyard has no respect for the law, the people she's supposed to serve, or any semblance of decency. She's managed to turn local politics into a chaotic theater of absurdity, where personal power seems to be her only concern. Whether it's undermining authority, appointing unqualified individuals to positions of power, or using public platforms to threaten those who challenge her, it's clear that Henyard will do anything to maintain control. Even if it means alienating the very people she's supposed to represent as the FBI steps in, the situation looks bleaker for Henyard by the day. The investigation has raised the stakes, and it's now a waiting game to see if criminal charges will follow. Her political career, once filled with potential, is unraveling in real time. What was once seen as a rise of a promising figure in local politics now looks like a case study in scandal, self-destruction, and possibly criminal consequences. The saga is far from over, but the more we learn about Henyard's actions, the more it seems her days in office are numbered. Whether or not she faces formal charges, it's increasingly clear that she's crossed too many lines to escape unscathed. The residents of Doton, long suffering under her leadership, can only watch as Henyard's fall from grace continues to unfold.
Yep, Ray and Mike, Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wanted the Board of Trustees to approve some events that she wants the township to pay for, but none of the trustees showed up for this special meeting tonight. That left the meeting canceled, and Henyard with the floor.
Tiffany Henyard's grip on power has become more fragile by the day, yet she continues to act as if she's untouchable, treating Doton like her personal kingdom. In her eyes, questioning her authority is simply not an option. This isn't North Korea, after all, but Henyard seems to think it is. Her latest meltdown at a city council meeting quickly became the talk of the town, with Super Mayor trending across social media. But instead of receiving support, she was met with mockery. The council meeting took a dramatic turn when Henyard's loyal supporters filled the room, cheering her on as she talked about the township's supposed financial stability. This was despite the glaring fact that Henyard's own actions had contributed to the financial mess that the township now faced. Her supporters, perhaps either unaware of the ongoing controversies or in full denial, clapped in approval, fueling the myth that Henyard is some kind of political savior. Something that couldn't be further from the truth. Then came what many called a piece de resistance, a bizarre, almost delusional public statement where Henyard compared herself to Donald Trump. In a moment that left many shaking their heads, she claimed that she would win re-election in a landslide, despite the swirling scandals surrounding her. Just like Trump, she said, "I'm coming in strong. The people know the truth, and they will stand by me." The crowd's response? Complete silence followed by laughter. It was a surreal moment in which Henyard's arrogance and inflated sense of self-importance were on full display, but the mockery she faced was impossible to ignore. Her behavior isn't just a matter of arrogance. It's a dangerous disregard for the reality of her situation. If the board doesn't show up for meetings, the township can't even pay its bills or handle essential business. Yet, Henyard continues to project herself as a victorious leader, ignoring the chaos and the disarray that has followed her rise to power. Her political ascent wasn't just about policy. It was a calculated, strategic move in which she presented herself as the underdog fighting for people. However, those closest to her have revealed that her true motivations were far less altruistic. According to former ally Carmen Carl, Henyard's actions were never about serving the residents of Doton or Thornton Township. It was always about consolidating power. Carl's revelation paints a disturbing picture of Henyard's true intentions, suggesting that her political career has been built on corruption and financial mismanagement. The evidence that has emerged ties Henyard directly to the financial troubles plaguing the town, and her former allies' words are starting to resonate with the residents. Carl, with an unsettling clarity, said, asterisk, "The taxpayers deserve better than this." Asterisk, and it seems the people of Doton and Thornton Township are finally starting to agree, but financial mismanagement isn't the only area where Henyard's judgment is coming under fire. Her handling of law enforcement has raised serious concerns as well. One of the most questionable actions came when she appointed a police chief who was blatantly unqualified for the position. Critics immediately called it a power grab, and Henyard's response was telling. When confronted about it, she arrogantly dismissed their concerns, further highlighting her unwillingness to listen to anyone outside her small circle of loyalists. This defensive, almost hostile response to legitimate criticism shows the depth of her ego and her readiness to do whatever it takes to maintain control, even if it means ignoring the law and the best interests of the community. With every passing day, it becomes clearer that Henyard is driven more by personal gain than by any desire to serve the public. Her tight-knit group of supporters, most of whom seem oblivious or indifferent to scandals surrounding her, continue to back her up, but the tide is turning. The people of Doton and Thornton Township are starting to see through the facade. The myth of Henyard as a champion for the people is crumbling, especially as more and more evidence of corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power surfaces. The most troubling part of this entire saga is Henyard's refusal to accept responsibility or even acknowledge the damage she has caused. A Facebook Live rant where she compared herself to Trump is just one example of her defiance. Instead of listening to the growing calls for accountability, Henyard doubled down, acting as though nothing was wrong. This arrogance, coupled with complete disregard for the concerns of her community, has only made her more of a liability. The laughter that followed her Trump comparison at the council meeting said it all. The people are waking up, and they're starting to realize that they've been led by someone who values power above all else. Henyard's continued defiance and refusal to step down only add to the sense of frustration within the community. With federal investigations underway and new revelations coming to light almost daily, her future in office is looking increasingly uncertain. What was once seen as a carefully orchestrated power move is now falling apart under the weight of her own corruption. The cracks in Henyard's leadership are widening, and it's becoming painfully obvious that she no longer has the support of the people. Doton and Thornton Township deserve better, and they're starting to demand the accountability they've been denied for far too long. Tiffany Henyard may have once believed she could hold on to power indefinitely, but with each new scandal, each new revelation of mismanagement and arrogance, her reign is looking less and less sustainable. The people know the truth, and they're no longer standing by her. It's only a matter of time before the truth catches up with Henyard. And when it does, her political career will likely crumble under the weight of its own contradictions.
Been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor. And now we've learned from multiple sources that federal agents are in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in.
Tiffany Henyard's actions have set off a storm of controversy in Doton, and the more she tries to solidify her power, the more she alienates those around her. Her latest move, appointing a police chief who wasn't even certified, has drawn sharp criticism from trustees and residents alike. Many see it as another clear example of her questionable judgment and blatant disregard for the proper procedures. Trustees, in particular, are concerned about her lack of respect for state laws and regulations, but Henyard has continued to steamroll ahead. Brushing aside their concerns and ignoring state officials, the situation took a dramatic turn when Henyard filed a lawsuit against the trustees for daring to hold meetings without her presence, further escalating tensions. This legal move only deepened the toxic atmosphere surrounding her leadership, where every decision seemed to defy common sense and accountability. Public meetings, once meant for constructive discussion, devolved into chaos. At one meeting, residents even booed Henyard off the stage, with one person shouting, "Why won't you step down?" This is embarrassing as always. Henyard deflected responsibility, shifting the blame to the trustees of the disorder and portraying herself as the victim. "I'm not the one on anything," she remarked defensively, trying to avoid any real accountability. When pressed about a foundation that wasn't properly registered, Henyard awkwardly dodged question, claiming she had no knowledge of its work or the money it had raised. This response only deepened suspicions about her involvement in a growing list of questionable activities. Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation into Henyard's conduct continues to intensify, and with each passing day, her circle of allies grows smaller. The cracks in her leadership are becoming impossible to ignore, and even some of her most ardent supporters are beginning to question her actions. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard remains defiant. In a recent Facebook post, she boldly proclaimed, "They can try to tear me down, but I'm not going anywhere." The statement has been met with collective eye rolls from the residents of Doton, who now view her situation not as a political scandal, but as an absurd spectacle. Henyard's refusal to step down, combined with her arrogance and disregard for the law, has many wondering how much longer she can hold on to power. Will the FBI investigation finally bring her to justice, or will her defiance and manipulation keep her in office for even longer as her list of scandals continues to grow? It seems inevitable that Henyard's time is running out. But with her unwavering determination to stay in power, It's unclear when or how she will be forced out. The people of Downtown are watching closely, waiting for the day when Henyard can no longer avoid the consequences of her actions. One thing is certain, the saga of Tiffany Henyard is far from over, with more twists and turns likely on the horizon. It's impossible to predict what will happen next in this unfolding drama. Let us know your thoughts and comments, and don't forget to subscribe. This story is still developing, and there's no telling where it will go next. Thank you for watching Celeb News.